America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's 8:30. It's February 15th, and we have an agenda in front of us. Everybody have a chance to look at it? Any changes?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Steve has moved to approve the agenda. Have a second?
I'll second.
Todd has seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, moving on. Approve the minutes of the February 8th and 9th meetings. So, everybody's had a chance to look that over. Is there any corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the meetings for February 8th and 9th.
Mark has made a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of February 8th and 9th. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jim has seconded. Any further discussion on that?
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Item number 3, County Attorney General discussion. Do you have anything for us today?
What's today, the 15th? Okay, so, I don't remember the exact date, but a few days ago, it looks like we did get some rulings from the magistrate in some of those Kephart cases. There's several pending, and it's a little hard for me to keep track of, just, because I wasn't in them from the beginning. But so it looked to me like, I think there was like 3 cases that were pending. I think they all arose out of the same thing. So they might all kind of be referred to as one case, but they were like kind of 3 separate tickets. Anyway, that had been pending for quite a while, I think, several months probably. But anyway, the judge ruled on that and imposed a fine, which is about all he can do, I think. I did note that his attorney, Mike Byrne, filed a notice of appeal, which is not that unusual. And so what'll happen is in in a matter, when somebody files a notice of appeal, it's a pretty expedited process. It's not quite like if you have a district court case and somebody appeals. That's a whole process of briefing and everything with the Supreme Court. Appealing a magistrate matter is quite a bit expedited and simpler. So essentially what happens is he's filed a notice of appeal, and what will eventually happen is a district court judge, one of the 5 or 6, I lose track of how many we got that come through here, 6 I think, but anyway, one of those will review the record and decide, oh, yeah, this was right, and uphold the fine, or say, oh, nope, the mistake was made, and overturn it. I don't see any reason why that would happen, but I'm not in the business of predicting what judges will do, and I've also found they don't like it when you try to predict what they're going to do. So, so that's that. Now that's separate than the one we had a couple of weeks ago,
Yep.
right? That one we're still waiting. So that's a separate thing. So anyway, I guess that's about all that I have. If you have questions, let me know.
What would be the timeline on the magistrate ruling?
Well,
Any idea, or just curious?
I would think, since the magistrate ruled on those other matters just very recently, and those had been pending for a while. I mean, but since he ruled on those recently, it kind of went through my head that, I mean, like I said, I hate to speak for a magistrate or any judge, but it'd be like if it were me, I'd be thinking, okay, I want to clean up all these at once, right? I want to get it done. I'm doing it now, so I'm going to clean this other one up too, is what I would expect. I may be wrong, but I would expect something to be coming pretty soon. Now, you might say, well, okay, well, why didn't he just rule on that at the same time he was ruling on these others? Well, because if I recall correctly, his attorney wanted an additional time to submit like a memorandum or a brief or anything in support of his position. And usually a magistrate's gonna, or any judge, is usually gonna grant that. And then I usually say, you know, well, I don't know that I have anything to submit, but I might want to respond to what he's, so anyway, there's a little, I think Mike Burr, I don't remember what he had, if he had 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something like that to submit something. As far as I've seen, I don't think anything's come through. But, so he did, the judge granted a little additional time for that. So that's one reason why maybe we haven't had a ruling yet. I would think maybe, once everything's fully submitted and nobody's got anything else coming in, that maybe the judge would rule on it. That's what I would
Yeah.
hope. Now, you remember, of course, we still have the other cases, you know, the district court cases, you know, the one where we petitioned for title to the abandoned property. That's the separate case coming up later in the summer, which might be the best way actually to try to get a handle on all this. Otherwise, I don't know how you keep it. You know, people ask me, I'm sure people ask you, how do you keep this from coming up all the time, right? We're always dealing with, I mean, how do you stop it? You know, it's a complicated issue. You're dealing with private property rights, and I think all of us here probably respect that greatly, right? I mean, I don't, you know, property rights are very important. So you're always in this constant constitutional battle, right? Which, like I said, I like my property rights as much as anybody else. I don't want to, you know, come in and breaching mine. But at the same time, I try not to be a nuisance. But anyway, I guess that's all I have for now, unless you have anything else.
I got one. Do you think it's all right for salary people to accrue comp time?
Speak a little louder.
Can salary people get comp time?
Well, you know, it depends. Now, I don't know. I don't know if this is with the Board of Health or if this is what that's related to or not, because it depends, frankly, on which agency you're dealing with. You know, for example, let's just kind of, you know, it doesn't matter, I guess, whether it's the government realm or whether it's the private corporation realm. You know, you got a board of directors that's in charge of hiring people. They may set certain policies and procedures that say this is what a salary is going to be, this is what vacation time is going to be, this is what comp time is going to be, you know, this is what paid time off is going to be. And, you know, to a certain extent, an employer is going to have the ability to set those policies. Now, once they set those policies, you can't really deviate from it too much. You know, for example, you know, this does get pretty complicated under the law. As an you know, just take vacation time, for example. I'll just use that as an example. If I'm an employer, then I have a certain flexibility in whether or not I want to offer some forms of time, whether it be sick pay, paid time off, comp time, vacation time, or whatever. But if I adopt policies or have a procedure for doing so, I can't really deny it later on, right? That's why once in a while you'll hear about these situations. For example, with maybe the Labor Employment Board at the federal level, sometimes they'll be arguing over that kind of thing, over vacation time. And it's kind of like, well, maybe you didn't have to approve it, but once you approved it, you got to give it. Anyway, that's kind of separate from some other things we're talking about. For example, if, you know, somebody's dealing with, when somebody talks about the Board of Health, for example, and somebody says, well, okay, Murphy, what you're saying is the county has some authority over their pay policies. Well, that's not necessarily true, because the Board of Health, for example, and I don't know if that's who you're referring to or not, I'm just kind of surmising maybe it is, but they've got their own autonomous board, and it's pretty clear, and I don't know whether it's right or whether it's wrong. It's just the way the law is, seems to me, and everybody I've talked to. They get approved a certain budget. Then they're going to have quite a bit of flexibility in how they want to spend that money. And that's just, you know, the way it is. So somebody might say, you know, well, we at the county level or the board of supervisor level, we don't like the way, I don't know if this is the case or not, I'm just, somebody says, we don't like these policies, we don't like the way you're spending this money. To be perfectly frank, there's not a hell of a lot the board of supervisors can do to alter that, because they're kind of their own independent, autonomous thing. Now, I know there's that frustration, so some people say, well, wait a minute. We're the board of supervisors, don't we have control over it? No, you have control over, the budget to a certain extent, right? What you budget, but once you do it, you're kind of out of the mix. Now, that doesn't necessarily carry over for all parts of the county. For example, when it comes to secondary roads and departments like that, you have more direct control over. When it comes to, for example, like the Board of Health, I think even probably the Conservation Board, different entities like that, maybe even the assessor. The law is specifically structured to give more autonomy to those, right? I don't know whether it's fair or whether it's not, it's just the way it is. Some people say, well, that seems kind of random. Well, I don't know whether it's random or not, I just know that's just the way it is. So to answer your question, an employer, whether it be private, whether it be government, probably has discretion over whether they're going to give, over things like vacation pay, comp time, things like that. The key question, I guess, is you ask, who is the employer? Who gets to make that decision, right? So at some level, in certain departments, it would be you guys, the Board of Supervisors. In other departments, such as the Board of Health, for example, is probably going to be their Board of Health, right? Who's going to decide those policies. The control that supervisors have is more over the overall budget process.
So a policy book that gets developed as far as countywide, elected officials probably would not have to follow it, but would other, we have two autonomous boards, we have the Conservation Board,
Yep.
and we have the Board of Health.
Right.
Would they have to follow the countywide policy book?
I think they're probably going to have quite a bit of autonomy. Certain things they're not going to have to follow.
Okay.
If they don't follow ours, do they turn in their own policy of what they're doing?
Well, most of the time, I think, most of the time, I would assume the Board of Health, most of the time those boards are going to have their own bylaws, and their own policies. I guess I don't know, for example, the Board of Health, I think I asked to review them one time, and I'm not sure I ever saw them. Because I think I looked also online, and I'm not sure I saw them there either. But I think from a legal perspective, there's going to be a limit to what the Board of Supervisors can do with those agencies that have those autonomous boards. Okay? I think the authority the Board of Supervisors has is when it comes to the overall budget process. Doesn't necessarily, I've checked with people at the state level, I've checked with the other county attorneys, I've done my own research on this. I'm not saying, I guess I can't predict whether I'm 100% right about everything. I don't try to go out on a limb that far. I've not talked to anybody yet that said anything different than what I'm saying to you guys. In other words, I haven't talked to anybody yet that said, wait a minute, that's not how it works at all. There seems to be pretty consistency that with those autonomous boards, they're going to.
Okay. What makes it difficult for us is we're pretty much in the spotlight, which that's fine, we are. People are on this thing, people are watching on that thing, they see what we do. And I support all of our departments. We have good people who work for us. But there's sometimes that we see things that are going on that maybe just aren't quite right. And we want, these people want to have things done correctly for the taxpayers. And when we see a problem, we think it should be corrected. I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Well, and like I said, I think, again, you'll hear me say this a million times, but I believe in it. Keeps me out of trouble, probably keeps you out of trouble somewhat too. I'm not a policymaker. You know, I don't make any policy, just a legal advisor. You know, I wouldn't say the Board of Supervisors has no control, for example. You have control over the budgeting process. You have control over who gets put on some of those autonomous boards, right? I mean, there's some authority over that.
Mhm.
Now, I realize, you know, you say, yeah, but, you know, that somewhat limited too, right? I mean, it's kind of like, I understand that might ring, you know, when somebody says, well, you have control over the budget process, you have control over, some say authority over who's on those boards. It's like, well, yeah, that's great in theory, but as a practicality, once something's done, our hands are kind of tied. And it's like, well, to a certain extent, until it rolls around again, right? Which it always does, right? I mean, that, you know, the budget process always comes around. Appointments always come around again. And that's kind of when you exercise your authority, I guess. It's kind of like Congress, you know. You don't like Congress, you know, there's not a damn thing I can do to keep them from casting the vote they're going to cast now. But there's a hammer we can use later on if enough people want to use it, right? I mean, I guess that's kind of what I'm saying when it comes to
Another way to say that is if we feel money is being spent incorrectly in a certain way, we could adjust a budget in a manner that we feel it could offset that.
It's what I mean, I think that's
Okay.
what I mean, I think that's within, because that is what you know, that is one of your big jobs, maybe one of your biggest jobs as supervisors, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah.
We're not trying to be mean, guys,
Aye.
but like you said, when you see something that maybe isn't quite right, you want to fix it.
And, you know, I've researched this pretty thoroughly, but I am one of those, I can be a little, people that know me, I can be a little bit anal, maybe get a little bit too much into the details sometimes, so sometimes people got to pull me back a little bit. But anyway, one of the good things is I'm not very often do I say, oh, I've examined this issue, I'm done, I'm moving on. I have examined it pretty closely, but in case there's something I'm missing, I got a couple of other people I want to ask. Okay? So maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's something I'm saying here that's not exactly right. I think what I'm saying, because I've checked it out before, but I have no objection to going back, taking a second look and saying, okay, you know, what am I not seeing? You know, who has a different opinion? I'll do that. Sound all right?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Can we go back to Mark's question, can salary people earn?
I'm just looking for a yes or no answer, really, but.
Well, the yes or no answer is, okay, yes.
That helps. That's all.
Now, there's a caveat, there's qualification, you know, it's not always true. But, yeah.
So to answer Laura's question is yes.
What's her question? She wanted oh, she just wanted that answer. Okay. Right. She must have got it. She's muted.
Okay,
So
yeah.
she
Is
must have got
that,
it.
is that all, Laura? Or-
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was clarified for sure with what Mark originally asked, if salary people can earn content. Because I think, Rachel, did you mention something last summer that it was discussed? I wasn't in on that meeting last summer, but
Yeah, Mark,
I believe it was Mark that said salary people can earn content.
he had stated it as if employees made less than 47,476, they would earn comp time or overtime.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So, we're kind of drawn in the middle of this because on one side, we have this time clock thing going on, and we have people saying, I'm salary, I don't need to punch in. And then now, all of a sudden, we have people saying, well, I'm salary, I earn comp time. you know, they're on both sides of the fence, and that's not, they work the situation for what's best for them, is what they're doing.
And so, here's, when we're, number one, I realize, and I get frustrated too, I'll make the joke, my large partner, Mark Walk, once in a while, I'll ask him a question, and he'll say, I got 2 answers for you, and I'll say, oh, shit, I don't want 2 answers, I want one good one, and it's like, and then I realize, yeah, we all feel that way, but it is true, when you're talking to most attorneys, you don't usually get a yes or no question, it's because we're paranoid, and we're afraid somebody's gonna miss something that we're saying, so we probably over-explain. But, there's, you know, when you're talking about comp time, talking about overtime, those are different things, for example, that figure Rachel was talking about, I don't remember off the top of my head, that if a person makes over that amount, they get overtime. And what was it, 47-some thousand?
If they make under that amount, they get overtime.
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise, they're exempt.
Yeah, I
When
misspoke,
they're
yeah.
over that, they're exempt.
That's like a rule under the Fair Labor Relations Board. Now, if I recall correctly, I'd have to see how this may be shook out. I think what happens is generally is these boards, like the Labor Relations Board, will approve rules and regulations every so often. They had proposed a rule regulation indicating that was going to be the amount regarding overtime guidelines for salary, if I recall correctly. I think there was a court in Texas, I think, that struck that down. That said, we don't really like that. I think that then the board was going to come out with some revised guidelines on what that amount was going to be, and I think it ended up being a lower amount. But anyway, it's neither here nor there as much as I understand it, that amount relates to overtime pay, not necessarily, because comp time is kind of different than overtime pay. So, I don't know, I guess what I'm saying is what I said earlier, that an employer has some discretion over vacation time and comp time, that's all true. I just don't want, but that doesn't necessarily mean overtime, right? Because that's a different thing. I don't want somebody to leave because there really is no discretion with that. I mean, can't mess with people's overtime at all.
I have a question. When comp time is, say comp time is earned, is it earned at time and a half, or is it earned at straight time?
Well, everybody does it a little bit different.
Everybody does it different.
I think, I've seen it a lot of times, it's just straight time.
Well, yeah.
But, I mean, if an employer says,
That you can earn it at time.
I mean,
Yeah.
take,
So there's so many different ways to do it.
yeah, you take a private employer, and I know you guys are not, we're dealing with,
Yeah.
but I'm saying sometimes to just clarify things in my head, look at it and you'll say, okay, well, let's say you got an employer that says, you know what, I'm willing to pay you, 100 times for, I guess you can do it. Nothing says you can't do it.
Yeah.
Might not be wise fiscal policy, but, but, that, and I think that's kind of where the rub is here, right? Is maybe people thinking, okay, there's too much authority given to some of these agencies, and that may or may not be true. But, like I said, I think the control over the process the supervisors have is over that budget and appointments process.
Okay.
I'll do a little checking though, see, because you always bring up a question or two that might be a little different than the question I addressed, so I'm like, well, okay, I'll take another look. I don't want to be wrong. Appreciate it. Nobody wants to be wrong. I don't like, I am sometimes. Don't admit it very often, maybe some people say, but I do recognize that I am, so let me take a look at it and see if there's something I'm missing. I don't want to give bad advice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, I guess we'll move on then. Item 4, approve sheriff report for January.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
January fees for you in the amount of $1,825 and 78 cents.
I move to approve the sheriff's report for January.
Steve has made a motion to approve the sheriff's report for January.
I'll second that.
Jim has seconded it. Any discussion on that?
Roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Looks not. Thank you. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Moving on. Item 5 is department head discussion. Is there any department heads that got anything to discuss?
Other than time cards, I think Rachel and I are working on just little things that have been popping up. I think things are starting to look a little bit better. But we still have some kind of major things we gotta get ironed out, but little stuff's getting ironed out.
Work in progress, huh? Yep.
Yeah, I wanna bring up when we had the assessors meeting and stuff, it's something that came up. And when we were going through those votes, it came up by one of the mayors, two of the mayors actually, that, I'll back up a little bit. We try to follow Robert's Rules of Order here. We don't
Okay.
follow it to the letter, but it's a recommendation to run a meeting efficiently. And it came up in those meetings that if somebody makes a motion and somebody seconds it, that they're locked into voting yes. Since this is not, since we use it as a suggestion to run a meeting, if I make a motion and through discussion we figure out that I'm wrong, I'm not gonna vote yes just simply because of a rule.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I'm gonna vote no because, so I'm not gonna follow that procedure.
Isn't there a procedure where you can pull your motion?
I'm not sure about that, I don't know.
Oh.
I just know I'm not gonna vote yes simply because I made a motion and then we figure out that I was wrong in what I was proposing, so.
Yeah, I'm not. Do you have a question?
We didn't vote yes because it was wrong. We voted yes because, yes, we made a motion to present it as written,
Mhm.
okay? So that was correct. And we were correct in saying, yes, we voted for it to continue as it was written. It wasn't cooked yet. You guys needed more discussion. You needed to build something better. So then we got to start over again. We dispensed with that motion.
And
So
nothing.
that's not right or wrong issue. It's what we voted for and what we understood was going to happen. But then it was going to change.
Yeah.
So it needs to be dispensed with.
Okay.
And
But I
Not a
thought
big
about-
deal to say no and start over.
I thought about that too, and I was gonna look that up, because back when they had 3 supervisors,
I was gonna say that.
if you made the motion, the second one seconded it, and then you had discussion and somebody changed their mind, what they did at the assessors meeting, it would have passed.
Yeah.
So I don't think that is quite right,
I
because
was
otherwise,
gonna say the
it
same
would
thing.
pass.
You have to dispense with the motion. But Coop and I both said, okay, they're gonna deal with it as is, so that's what he made a motion, I seconded it. We had to get rid of that motion in order for you to make the actual.
Correct, but if you only had 3 people on that board, it would have passed.
Anyways, however you want to do it.
Yeah, and I wanna be clear, nothing went through in that assessors meeting that was incorrect. That, nothing happened wrong there. But the reason I bring that up is because of what we were doing. And I was gonna say the same thing you did, Mark, back when there were 3 supervisors. We could have incorrectly approved a budget,
Yes.
which because 2 people were locked in because of some rule that they had to vote yes because they made a motion in the second, and I'm not gonna do that.
No. Yeah.
And I'd like to piggyback on that. So let's go back to these autonomous boards. So her board comes in, everybody's working, they're not on a daily, weekly, or monthly visit with her. So what would have happened if, like it did, Steve made the motion, you seconded it. Your board members are just coming in and they're like, oh, that's what our board is asking for, and they would have all went yes, 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 not really knowing that that was wrong, and it would have passed.
None of what we were discussing was wrong anyway.
No,
It's just
what
you were
was,
going-
what the numbers
what you
and,
were going to provide for her.
but everything she was proposing was wrong.
Well, there were just some numbers, there were
Correct.
some numbers that weren't calculating out correctly.
Correctly, so,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, that, is it autonomous board? If they're not dealing with this on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, they would've took you guys'
I also
recommendation.
made the statement to her that she wasn't prepared for this, it wasn't quite cooked.
You did, yeah,
It
you
wasn't
did.
correct.
But I'm with Jim and Mark on this, that it bothers me that it could get passed and, no, but,
No. It all worked out right.
It all worked
did.
out,
All
but
worked-
I'm
Clear
with-
about that, yes.
and that's why I like a motion, a discussion, or a second, and then discussion, so we can talk about it.
Mhm.
But, yeah, I got nervous about that too. But
I just wanted to,
clarify,
I
and we'll,
wanted us all to think about that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, moving on.
we got a question here, Greg.
Got a question? Oh,
I just want to bring up a point that we talked about the other night at EMA and 911 meeting. Steve was there. We talked about the Stacyville shop, the sheriff's office. It's not our repeater, but it functions all EMS, fire, and the sheriff's office. Our north repeater is stationed at the Stacyville shop. And if we lose power, there's a battery backup that picks that repeater up, but just for a period of time. It's not, it doesn't do it infinitely. It's gonna maybe have a 4 or 5, 6 hour battery life. And in that time frame, we need the power to pick back up so that repeater will continue to work for emergency services. One thing that was brought up, and I don't need any decisions, I'm not asking for that, and Rich isn't even aware of this, is the possibility of down the road having a standby generator at that shop.
So I'll weigh in on that, because Merlin and I have been talking about getting quotes to wire some of our outlying shops with the possibility, we've got a welder with a generator on it, that if we need to, we had that storm in December, we lost power, and these overhead doors are pretty heavy to open up, without
Oh, yeah.
power. So we're looking into, the cost of what it would take to just put a plug switch on the side of the building so that we could come in if we needed to with a generator to power up the system to open the doors until power comes back. But it also probably could be used as backup power depending on where we're at.
Rich, our discussion was, and 911 would gladly pay to put help on the generators. Now, you and Chris could get together and maybe share the costs, or
You know what I
just
wish
have
we
a
had was the one from
generator
the
there
county
that would
home back.
automatically kick in and work instantly to
Sure.
keep that radio system working.
That
And the
count-
benefit for Rich's guys is they're not messing with those overhead doors when they're trying to get.
And it is
Yeah.
fun with them doors.
Oh, I know, I was
remember
out there,
fighting them
I've been out there
doors.
once when the power goes on, you gotta try to lift doors, and they're not easy to lift, but
They're
no,
very
I'm sure
heavy.
not.
that county home generator. next to keep.
But again,
Hindsight.
we're talking about
Yep,
a generator that would run that shop, that would be based there, run off LP,
and it
and
doesn't
it would
need,
kick on instantly to keep that system going, but we'd have the benefit of opening the
right,
doors.
and for that size, we wouldn't need a very large generator, because we're not powering a lot of
No.
juice just to open doors and run a repeater, but.
Yep.
Yeah, that, electrician could probably advise us with size.
Mhm.
Food for thought.
Yeah, no,
I'm just gonna say, if there's extra money, we'll know how that is.
well, we've been talking about at least a hookup anyway, so.
Yeah, we keep our radio system up and running, plus help with the check.
Yep.
Anyways, again, Chris had said, help pay for, split the cost, whatever, you and Chris work this
Does that
out.
fit into ARP at all? Funding?
Ask these guys, that's not my area.
It's basically opened up. You could have put everything into the general fund.
Oh, it's all opened up now?
Yeah.
So
The
then
ARP's
there's-
opened up?
There's some funding there. if
Oh,
the payment
okay.
was
Or
good.
maybe not.
Maybe not.
Or maybe
Or
not.
maybe not. Yeah, there may
So
be
it's
not.
obligated, that's fine, whatever, I just.
Yeah, I mean,
You
a
have
5 or
another
6,000
situation.
watt generator would run that building,
Yeah, it doesn't take
It
a
don't take
lot of
much,
juice.
no. It's
But-
not less than a house,
Christopher did stipulate that help pay for,
Okay,
and
well,
you and
maybe they
Chris
can,
get together, because I know he's listening,
not a problem.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring this up when I did my reports on the meetings, now I don't have to.
Okay.
Nope, it's done.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea, I would agree. Yeah, no, thank you. I think that's a good point, good idea. That's- Okay. Any more questions? County engineer?
Not much to bring up this morning. I don't think, I sent an email out for our joint meeting on Tuesday next week. I don't think it's gonna work for.
Oh, it's not gonna work?
Now, I didn't get a response from everybody yet, and then I know that one board member can't make it from North County that day. So
Okay.
we'll just try to figure out another day where everybody can be there, so.
Okay.
I'll try to send out some sort of, I'm not good at these.
You did get my response, right?
I did not.
Oh,
So.
okay, well, I was
You got
okay
mine?
with it.
Did
I
mine?
got
You
yours,
got mine? Okay.
and I didn't get yours. I sent it out two different ways. I sent it to the general, Board of Supervisors email address, but I didn't get any
I
responses
got it the
back.
second route.
And then I sent it to you guys got several different emails that you guys are using, so it was easier to push one button and do 5 different ones, but it seems that didn't work so well, so we'll try to figure out another day that works for all
Okay.
AW to get together, and the auditors.
Yeah, I didn't get it on the county email, I got it on the other one, so.
It's weird
I
that it
don't know
didn't
why.
come through, but it could
And I didn't
be,
get it until he responded.
that's weird, because
Yeah.
your email address was separate both
I
ways.
didn't spell correctly. I don't know.
So anyway,
That's weird.
we'll try to figure out something else there.
Okay.
Have you guys, and I know I say we don't need to rush on this, but have you guys given any more thought to any TIF talk on these projects? Well, the reason I'm asking is, and whether or not we, the equipment guys aren't gonna wait forever, and whether or not we do equipment, that's here nor there. But if we go and don't have local money for the 105 bridge, I gotta move. The way things are setting right now with what we anticipate, what I have, the information I have for our bridge funding right now is we can keep the Stacyville Bridge in the program for now. That's set for an April letting. But we would not be able to, based on our funding, let the 105 bridge until October, December for construction in a year from now. Or we can swap things around and do the 105 bridge in, I don't know if we can make the September letting or not, but then that means we push the Statesville Bridge back a year. Either way, we skate on thin ice with our 4.5-year borrow ahead, and that all depends on pricing. That's estimated at $900,000 for 105 bridge, not including a temporary fix and a $350,000 cost on the bridge north side of Stacyville. So either way we do it, one's got to be swapped around, and either way we do it, we're not looking at, if we don't use local dollars, we're not looking at a 105 construction, probably not even until next spring. Because of the DOT letting process, even if we get it let in it'll be October, November, December, we're not looking at any construction this fiscal year, it'll have to be in the spring. If we do it if we do it locally, we can get the letting earlier. We just don't know whether, we have the opportunity for a contractor to come in and work on it this summer, but we don't have that guarantee because we don't know what contractor schedules are. And we're also looking at, if we do it locally now, we're kind of later in the season anyway, but just kind of is there a possibility of you guys even considering TIF or not? If not, I'm gonna start moving some stuff around so that we can get some projects done. Because if I'm using local money on Hickory right now, that's $900,000 to $1 million that we've got obligated that we want to make sure we have for when they build it. We've talked about that, but other things have transpired, and I still don't have. I'm expecting in the next few weeks to probably get the bridge report back, but this is based on what the bridge report was from 2 years ago. I get a bridge report back that says we've got some things that we need to accelerate. This all changes, so I just want to know whether I start moving stuff around now, or what's your guys' ideas?
The bridge report
That's
from
it?
before was the Stacyville Bridge, correct?
Well, when I talk about the bridge report, I'm talking about the inspections we have every 2
Yeah.
years. And so based on that one, the Stacyville Bridge is one that I wanna get replaced before we have to embargo. I don't wanna end up with a 105 project north of Stacyville, because that's a main artery, just like 105 is. 105 just went on us like crazy. I think we've got time left in Stacyville to push it back, but it doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, if I get a bridge report back from our inspections this year that says we've got some more things that need to be prioritized, it doesn't matter what we look at in 2 years, 3 years, we're in dire straits. We don't have the funding coming in, and I don't, like I said, we don't know what the federal thing is. We're not gonna see any of that probably this fiscal year anyway. It just seems like it takes that long for those bills to pass. We don't know whether that money's gonna be competitive or not, whether we'll even qualify for some of that. We'll get probably an increase in bridge money, but when you're only getting, and I can't even remember what it is now, if we're getting $220,000 a year, we can't do a lot with that. And I'm sorry to say that. It's just that things are so dang expensive now. You can't, a twin box culvert is about the maximum you can do with $250,000. And we've got structures that need triples, we've got bridges we need to put in. Bridges are, everything's more expensive. So,
When you get that bridge report back.
I'm waiting, they're working on getting that done. I'm hoping in the next few weeks we get it. I should get it before I gotta turn in my program and budget to the DOT at April 15th. It usually doesn't, I'm gonna guess that either late this month or early in March I'll see it. And right now, what I'm using is what they have a report that they give me, they call it their, they got a priority list of things that we need to, we need guardrail improvements or riprap or something here and there. It's our punch list thing, and then they've got a list of bridges replaced in 2 to 10 years. So I'm just, when they give me a window of 2 to 10 or 5 to 10 years or whatever, that's when I start trying to predict when this bridge is gonna need to be replaced based on the funding. So I don't have an answer for you yet. I don't know. I should be getting it in the next 3 weeks, I'm hoping.
Because would it be too late to wait for that report to come back and then, because I don't want to go with these 2 projects. And
Right,
then
so, right now, probably shouldn't be, because I have up until theoretically the day before the letting to pull that project out of the letting from north of Stacyville. So I do have time.
So when you said? So-
That's an April letting, so I really theoretically have until the day before, but I don't want to do that the day before the letting and pull the project and everybody's planning on it. It'd be nicer to take it out sooner so people don't have to put their time and effort into putting their number. A lot of people put their numbers together days before the letting, and I don't want them to put the effort in and not have to do it. So we have some time, and I can wait, but I just want to know, is there any feeling whatsoever that we're not going to TIF? Otherwise, I'll just quit talking about it and I'll move on and try to shoehorn projects in with the funding that we have. That's all I'm asking for is there any consensus right now that anybody's thought about that gives the indication that it's possible or not? I know I know Steve's opinion. I don't think that he's on board with using TIF dollars, but I don't know what anybody else's opinion is. I can guess, but I'm not gonna have the right answer if I guess, so.
The bill that's out there in regards to changing the backfill won't be known until probably April or May. And if it changes the backfill in a negative way for us, doesn't mean TIF goes away. It's still a valuable funding source, but we're gonna have to restructure things in order to, because there's not gonna be enough, if they don't grandfather it in, there won't be enough revenue coming in compared to what there used to be. So things will have to be restructured. I am going somewhere with this.
Yep, no,
So we won't know exactly, and the bill is, what I've been told is wrote very weak, and there's a lot of people that are opposing it. ISAC's opposing it. Good chance it's not gonna even happen, but it's also maybe not a good thing to commit to TIF until we know what the outcome of that is. Whether they grandfather it in, whether they don't grandfather it in, whether it happens at all or not. If there is no backfill in the future, if it happens to that effect, it's still valuable as a funding source to be used because we're capturing a lot of revenue that we can use for projects like this, and you said it yourself, we don't get enough money to fund bridges in the first place. And borrowing ahead, you can only borrow ahead so long and then you're done. So we need a funding source to do it somehow.
So as you understand the writing, and I haven't seen the bill, is your perception of it that they would, say they passed the bill, would they say, you know what, next year we're not backfilling anymore, you have money borrowed, and you guys were anticipating backfilling schools, but now you gotta come up with that backfill?
Correct.
Or are they talking about any new TIF?
No, they're
That's-
talking everything, from what I read.
That's how it's wrote, that's how it's not wrote. That's why it's wrote poorly, because it's not specified
Okay.
exactly what they want to do.
Because I can see a problem if we've got the debt out there and somebody says, well, okay, we're not gonna backfill, now we gotta find that money to backfill that, on the money that we've
That's-
already borrowed, right?
That's where I'm talking about, it have to be restructured, so we need to know exactly where we're at with this, with the outcome.
Sure,
of
I
this.
understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
I've been following it too. and-
Okay.
And, yeah, it's kinda in the air yet, but kind of the way they're talking is, when the day comes to backfill, you're responsible for all your old debt backfilling too, which is a big number.
Well, and
I know what that is too. I
you know,
checked
my
into
opinion
that.
is I can't believe they'd leave you hanging like that, but
Well,
that's not the first time something like that's
No,
probably gonna
no.
happen. So I completely understand that.
Yep.
And I know that once we get that defined, it just leaves less opportunity, I don't say less opportunity, but less funding for opportunities if we have to, and whatever, I guess, then we'll know at least what we have to work with.
Yep.
They get their cut, and then there's this money here that's usable for whatever you guys decide, if you decide. So I get that. I just wanted to know if we had anything that was, I know that there was a little bit left, and I know we've talked about that in the past. I just didn't know what what your thoughts were on using it or not. I mean, because right now, I'm kind of the point where if we can't use it, we're gonna forget about those motor grader options, and we're gonna move on with just working on projects and hoping the heck nothing breaks down.
Yeah.
Why it wouldn't be good to do it now is if they did change that backfill and we bought a GO bond to do this, we would, there wouldn't be the same amount of revenue coming in if they didn't grandfather the backfill in. And then we would not only have the previous stuff that we've done, we'd also have this
Mhm.
that we have
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
So it's best just to wait.
I'm
to see what's
not gonna
happen.
pull that project yet. I'm gonna hold out as long as I can until I know something. We'll keep this conversation fresh, I guess, if you guys wanna do that.
And it's not gonna take effect until, July 1st of '23, so it's not that it's this July that it would take effect.
Well, at least we would know something that we can plan with though, too.
But April or May is when they should decide on it.
Okay.
If it even goes through.
All right.
I got an email late yesterday afternoon, I called Rachel, and, however that bill works, I haven't had time to look into it, as it was late, but the schools will get their backfill. Now, I told Rachel, I don't know if that means if that bill goes through, it goes on to the taxpayers, or the email looked like from the schools, we're gonna get their backfill filled. Now, does that mean it's gonna come how it has been,
No, not the way.
or if it's gonna be put on the taxpayers?
It's gonna be put on the county is where it's gonna be put on. What I interpreted and read, been told.
Yeah, and I'm
And it passed the
confused
first-
on, from the person that I got the email from, is from the community and the school, and why they would,
Because they'll get their money no matter what.
Well, I
Whether
know,
it's
but-
from the state or it's from us,
Right,
they're
yeah,
gonna
they're
get their
gonna
money.
get
but
so it
they're
doesn't-
local, it's our school, and
Right.
why they would be happy about that, which I understand, but that
Who's
could
they?
mean.
Who do you mean they'd be happy about that? The school or the state?
The school.
School, yeah.
they're
But
not gonna
why
do it.
they would be, well, it was our superintendent, so why would she be happy if she's gonna get, obviously, the school backfilled, but her taxes could go up because we have all this debt? So I'm kinda confused on,
Like Rich said, that they're gonna get if it's backfilled, they get the 87.5% plus there's pebbles involved with it, so they almost
Correct.
get 100% of what their funding is. So the schools, it doesn't make any difference whether they get it from this resource or from this resource. It's the state is the one that's gonna be, I don't even wanna say happy,
Right.
because they should be pleased that they are backfilling the system, because that means that the TIF program is working. They're putting money into rural Iowa to make this whole thing happen, so, sorry, I'm starting to go in a direction, so I don't know if I'm answering your question or not, but the school's gonna get their money no matter what.
Correct, I understand that, you know, it'd be different if I got an email from the state saying that, but I mean, it's a local that she's not gonna want our county to be having to pick up all this debt.
Well,
It
we
is
probably
what it
can
is.
restructure it in order so that we don't have to put it on the taxpayer. Right now, it's not on the taxpayers.
Right.
Correct.
That's what the nice thing about TIF is, it's not debt that the taxpayers are having to.
By
Carry
restructuring,
the
you're
load.
meaning find a different way that those increment funds go back into the system where that takes care of that
Right.
Right.
backfill.
Right.
Where it's still not raising taxes, we're using that increment as it's needed to pay that.
Correct.
But if you use more TIF, you're not gonna have enough to pay to do it.
Only if you don't know how much you have to pay, and,
Right.
yeah, I get it, yeah.
It was, I don't know, it was a pretty big number for the last year, right?
But if they don't pass it this year, they'll bring it up next year again, the legislatures.
Don't know.
It passed the first part of the
I guess the
legislature with
the
flying
great thing would be
colors,
is if they
no
know they're gonna
opposition,
grandfather
so-
you in, because then you start, take care of the problem now, we're gonna get grandfathered in, let's just do what we can while we can, but you never know that.
There's not many counties that have the debt Mitchell County has, so I'm
Not-
worried about the
well-
majority, not the minority, so, because of the debt load is why it's a problem, so.
There's 14 counties that use wind turbines for
Yeah.
tax
Like
increment
Howard
finances.
County is
So
doing
we're not
more.
like the main people that are abusing the system. I get tired of hearing that. There's a lot of counties that use this program, and you can look up the amount that do this. I don't like that argument.
I talked to
That
Howard
statement.
County, their engineer, and they're actually doing more. They're doing another
Yeah.
multi-million-dollar TIF to do roads and bridges over there.
There's people that realize that it's a good funding source and they're not afraid to use it. You have to use it within reason, by all means. That's the way we do our finances at home also. But to be afraid of it is ridiculous. It's there to be used, and it's a good plan.
Well, I didn't bring it up to start a battle, I just
Yeah,
wanted to
but
kind of.
that's what happens.
I know, I'm sorry, it's a really touchy subject,
Yep.
it's like pushing on a bruise, but
But do you think Howard County's doing that just to get in before they?
I don't know. Maybe they're not even, they might have their concerns, but they might have a little bit different take on how they're paying it back. But I know when I talked to him, because we're trying to program Addison Avenue, and that's a combined payment road. We were looking at different options, and he brought up a concrete overlay, and he says, well, we're gonna try to, if you know you're still trying to do it in that year, maybe we can try to use TIF. And I'm like, well, okay, how does that work? If I'm gonna try to use farm to market funds, you're gonna try to use TIF, we gotta figure out between us two how that gets, whether we have the farm to market money to actually do it, I don't know, it doesn't look great. But I gotta program these things so that in case something happens, we've got it programmed so we can do something. Farm to market account ain't pretty either, but that's for another time, I guess, right now. But, yeah, I don't know, Mark, what their perception is. I just was told that they were doing some more TIF rounds.
Just depends on how much debt you got on the books already,
I don't know that they're much different than we are. I think they've done quite a bit.
Yep,
So, anyway,
okay.
I think that's all I have for you this morning. Kind of threw a lot out there.
I had something, I was down on 105 the other night, and, you have the one-way, you have the warning signs out there. I know you talked about stop and go lights. The only thing I could see is, why don't you put a couple of them solar stop signs out there with the flashing lights?
I have to see if
I
we
mean-
have some. I think we might have some. We
Yeah, I
should.
know that last
Yeah,
time
well,
you went up, you had this one
we
on the shelf.
might have to now. I mean, it's just one of those things where it was only
Well,
gonna be temporary, but
Yeah.
I think we might.
but I mean, if anybody misses that,
Well-
you know what I mean? I mean, that'd
I'm
be just
watching
as
people
effective.
not missing it. I'm watching people deliberately drive past them in the daylight. So,
Yeah,
but, right, I
yeah.
think I'll
But
I'll look into that and see if we can get some, because it does
Yeah.
add more to that
That'd be a
intersection.
cheap,
I just don't like
cheap
the fact that they're
stoplights,
portable signs with them expensive signs on it, but I guess we'll take that. Yeah, no,
I think it would be.
Yep, I'll see if we have any left, but
I know when you did that one west, I know you said you had some on the shelf, and I just thought.
I don't know if we only had one or two available for extra, and But I'll look into it.
Yeah, because I know you said the stoplights were like, what, 50 grand to rent them?
That's, yeah, well.
I'm sure this is a lot.
That was only for a 6-month setup. If we're looking at
Right.
doing this, we're looking at a lot more.
But the flashing stop line signs would be a good deal, I
Yep.
feel. Right? That's my 2 cents on
Nope,
it. So,
nope.
nope.
We'll look, see if we got anything set up and we'll get something. If we have them, we'll put them out there. I think it's a
Yep.
good idea.
They probably ain't real expensive, are they? Or are they?
They're about $1,500 a sign, and that was when we bought them 5 years ago.
Okay.
They're probably a lot more expensive now.
Yeah, but they can be reused again, too.
Yeah, they can if they don't get stolen. We've had them
Oh.
stolen too, so. They
Well-
look good in dorm rooms, I guess. I
Wow.
don't know whose dorm room has one, but
I don't
Be
know.
kinda hard to sleep at night.
we've been partying all night. Who wants to sleep, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay, all
that's.
right, I just thought I'd put that. Okay, anybody else have anything for Rich? Or Rich have any more? Anything?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, item number 7, discussion and possible action on pricing for yearly septic system contractor licensing. Amanda, I guess that's you, huh?
Yeah, that's me. Hi. Oh, sorry, Rachel. I have like a little thing that I wrote so that way I don't get off topic, so I'll just read from that. Well, good morning. I'm here this morning in regard to possibly requiring a yearly septic system contractor's license for Mitchell County. In other counties in our region, to be able to receive this contractor license, it's a requirement that you must be in good standing with IOWWA and have your CWAT certification, which stands for Certified Installer of On-Site Wastewater Treatment Systems. There are contractors in our county that currently do have their CWAT certification, and then there are some contractors that do not. My goal today would be to possibly require a contractor's license for our county, but to also be able to have this licensing not 100% eliminate the competition of contractors in our county and still allow homeowners to install systems at their private locations as need be. I have been discussing with a couple of you on how we can have a creative way to have certified and non-certified contractors as well as homeowners continuing to install septic systems in the county, but also possibly incentivizing the contractors who have taken the time and spent the extra money to gain their certification through IOWWA and keep it valid with every 2-year expiration cycle. So here's the idea that I propose today. In general, a contractor or business would need to fill out a yearly application, which was given to you in your packets, and pay a yearly fee. And a homeowner would also need to fill out that same application, but they would only pay a one-time fee unless for future years they would decide to install systems. Contractors or businesses would have to then show proof and provide a copy of their company insurance. Homeowners would not have to do that. Contractors who are certified through IOWWA would then provide me a copy of their valid certification, and based off of this proof, they would then have the privilege of paying a lower contractor's licensing fee for the year as compared to a contractor or business who is not certified or a homeowner. These are the fee rates that I propose for 2022. If you're certified per company or individual, it would be $50 for the entire septic system season, so for the entire year. For individuals or companies that are not certified, it would be $125 for the year of 2022. These fees do not cover any sort of fee that would be required for a septic system permit itself. This would just be for the ability to install in the county. If we were to implement this contractor's licensing into the septic system policy and procedures yearly, based off of the number of septic system contractors I had last year, my department would roughly gain $1,075 for the year. And I say roughly, as this number doesn't reflect homeowners who could possibly install their own systems and who would have to pay this fee. I don't have the numbers on how many homeowners installed their personal systems last year. Again, this contractor license does not pay for the permit fee per septic system. Now, this yearly contractor license isn't just an unimportant tax on companies and homeowners that I'm trying to implement. This licensing brings me face to face with contractors and individuals who are installing in the county, and it would also help me gain the ability to keep track of who's installing in the county for that particular year and who isn't, which is quite a big thing in my department right now that I'm not able to track that. I mean, I have an idea, but it's not 100%. It would also give me the ability to advertise for these companies and that have their licensing on the Mitchell County website, as well as the Mitchell County Public Health Facebook page. Those two websites alone, that's pretty good advertising in my opinion. This advertising on these two websites would allow members of our community to quote-unquote shop around first before deciding on their contractor of choice for installing, altering, or repairing of their system. And I do want to note that I would only plan for contractors or businesses to be put on the page, not homeowners, as most of the time homeowners are looking specifically just to install their own system, not other systems around the county. I have contacted my Board of Health for recommendations regarding this decision. Currently, I haven't had any weigh-in regarding the matter, hence why I'm coming to you directly, as you are the ones who implement the price points in the county. I believe this is not only a great opportunity for my department monetarily, but also in having more accurate records kept in my office from year to year regarding contractors, homeowners, and septic systems in general. That's always been my goal, is to have better kept records. It would also aid the community in the current question of who installs systems and who doesn't, and it would kind of start with laying some boundaries on where to begin when wanting to install a system. Coming up with this specific compromise plan alleviates the quote-unquote hard shock to contractors that would come from just outright requiring a CWAT certification and just eliminating competition. Obviously, I wouldn't want to, if we were to go that route, I wouldn't want to have it happen for like a couple years to give contractors the ability to get their CWAT certification, but I have had comments from contractors that would say, well, we just wouldn't install anymore if that's a requirement that you would have to take. So that's kind of what I have, and that's my idea. Giving the contractors the ability to pay for this, again, helps me keep accurate records, but it also gives me the ability to advertise for them. Currently, right now, when someone comes up to me and says, well, who do you recommend for installing systems, I can't really give them an answer because it seems like I have favoritism if I do give them an answer. I can put a list on the website and on the Mitchell County Public Health Facebook page and just say, this is your list of contractors or who have this licensing, who are able to install in the county, you pick. So that's my idea. So
Now, I have a question on your contractor, on certified contractors.
Yep.
It would be $50 for the year.
for the year, yes.
And the
that is the
homeowner
same
would be
thing.
$125 for their home.
Yes.
Understood.
And that's the same thing with companies that are not certified. It would be $125
Yep.
for the year.
Yep.
But yes, just for homeowners wanting to install their own system, it would be $125. That's what I'm proposing.
Yep,
So
I
just see-
think you've got a good plan.
Do you know what other counties are doing as far as fees? Is this similar to?
I don't know 100% what other counties are doing for fees. I do know that Floyd County implements this, and he has said that it's a great way to keep track of his contractors, and he also does the whole advertising thing. That's kind of where I got that idea from, and he said that it works really well, because then, like I said earlier, it doesn't show favoritism towards one specific company, and then again, he can keep track of who has their licensing, and in his county, he actually does require a CWAT certification, so everyone in his county has their certification, so I would assume that that certified fee that I put down there, that's probably roughly what he's charging.
Okay.
But with this compromise plan, I do want to incentivize for the people that do have their CWAT certification, as they have to take a test, and then they have to pay for that test, and then they have to pay for classes for every 2-year cycle, and then they have to pay to renew their CWATs every year, which is $95, and classes usually range from $300 to $500 every 2 years. So taking that time and spending that money just to have your certification, I do want to incentivize for them, so.
Do you know how many contractors in Mitchell County have the certification already?
9?
Probably none.
Nine do?
But, well,
Nine?
that's
Okay.
9 companies.
9 companies, yeah, that's.
There are
yeah,
multiple
yeah.
people within a company
Correct.
that have their CWATs.
Okay.
There are some that one has it and one doesn't. I would do this per company.
Per company,
I wouldn't
yes,
want to
right.
pay. I wouldn't want someone who has 8 people that are certified in their company to pay $50. Just it would be per company.
Yeah.
So you do have 9 companies or organizations in the county that do have this already?
Yes, but I
Oh,
also
well,
have.
that's even better.
But I also have a handful of good people that do not.
Do not.
And I don't want to lose that competition.
No.
Competition is always good for any
Yeah.
sort of business type,
Correct.
so I don't want to lose those contractors just because I'm going to say, well, you need to get your CWATs, and we're just going to, they've already told me if that's a requirement, we don't want to install anymore, and that kind of,
And if they've been
Stinks.
doing it, they probably been doing good work or know what they're doing, right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I haven't had issues. There
Yeah.
are some that, I'm a little, I like to be there and watch them install, but other than that, most of them, they know what they're doing, so.
so can an uncertified contractor from a different county come into this county and install?
Currently, yes.
They can?
Yes.
They would just have to pay that fee?
Yes,
Per year?
per year. And if homeowners, like I said earlier, if homeowners say, a lot of times it happens to where a homeowner installs a system and they're like, wow, I'm really good at this, and then they want to install again, they would have to pay this fee again if they wanted to install, and then they would technically then get put onto the website for advertising because they've done multiple, and it would technically then, in my eyes, be considered a business. They would have to show proof of their insurance, so. Floyd County, they have people show like their bond, and then they also have proof of showing like Iowa Workforce Development, their ability to do that, so.
Okay.
You said that CWAT certification is for 2 years, correct?
It's a 2-year cycle.
Okay.
They have to take a test to be able to earn that CWATs, and then every 2 years, it's $95 to renew.
All right. And so we're charging them an annual fee of $50, so every 2 years, they're gonna have to pay $100. For 2 years, you're gonna have to pay $100.
Mhm.
Okay. I agree with 99% of what you say. And you smile because we have had this
I know.
conversation. And
I
you
have
knew
been
this was
waiting.
coming.
I have
Okay.
been waiting.
So, everything you say and are proposed is great, and I have no problem with any of it. But you're gonna ask a contractor to go get certified, take a $300 course, pay $95 per year to CWAT, so they can renew their certification there, and then you're still gonna hammer them $50 a year, just so that they can fill out a piece of paper and you can put it in the file. I don't agree with that, and I'm not gonna support that. I want you to incentivize contractors so that you have certified
Right.
contractors.
Right.
I get that, and I want that to happen. $125, I have no problem with that. But for certified contractors, it should be 0, because they've already made their money commitment by doing what you want them to do.
Can I rebuttal?
Certainly.
Okay. The advertising alone pays for itself, because if you look at what it costs to put your advertising in the newspaper, it's quite expensive. And this would be on for an entire year, advertised on our website and also on the Mitchell County Facebook, or on the Mitchell County Public Health Facebook page. I understand that, Facebook is free, but being able to put it on a county website, also, I would have, a lot of the times last year, people came into my office asking me personally who I would recommend. I could just hand them a full sheet with people's names on it. I think the advertising alone pays for itself. And I get that they do, every 2 years, they have to have a certain amount of CEUs and they have to pay for their renewal fee. But I think the advertising alone pays for itself. and that's where I get the $50. Because just for like Board of Adjustment or zoning commission meetings, per line costs, and I mean, just to see, most of them ranged like $10 a piece. So you're looking at 8 months of advertising on 2 websites. I think that's a pretty good deal.
As I've told you also, when government charges a fee, people should know what they're getting for their fee.
Right.
And what you've said is, you're gonna take a piece of paper, you're gonna put it in the file, because I know that this guy's certified, and you're gonna go on the computer, and you're gonna put their name on the computer. That doesn't cost very much to do that. That's not, to me, that does not justify their cost. And I know contractors are gonna say just what I said. You want me to go spend all this money to get certified, and now you still want more money from me? And they're not gonna like that. I'm not gonna support the whole thing
Right.
unless that's zero.
Right.
That's
However,
where I'm
I'm
at.
not actually requiring them to get their CWATs. That's their choice.
Yeah, that's where the $125 comes into effect, if they don't wanna do that.
Yep,
So.
which is totally fine. They would just have to pay more. And I have talked with contractors. They're able to make that money back.
So the
I mean-
consensus of the contractors that you've had discussion with
I have talked
don't
with
have
some
any
of them.
problems with this?
No. I mean, some of them are kind of like, well, we've never had to do this before.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And I get that. My goal, I guess, is to be a little bit more uniform with other counties, because when I look at other counties, I look at them and I'm like, they know what they're doing, and I, like, aspire to be like them, because they're great motivation, and they have their stuff together. So that's kind of why I want to do this, is because when I look at other counties and I look at like the organizational aspect of it, for me personally, that alone pays for itself, and just being able to tell people and not have to tell them, well, I can't really recommend anybody. Now I can say, here's this list and these are the people that I recommend. But yes, I have had a little bit of pushback from some contractors saying, well, we never have had to do this, and I just...
Is that certified contractors or the uncertified?
I would not like to answer that
Okay,
question.
that's fine. I just, do some of our, must be more than Floyd County that borders us that require the certification, or why would nine of them already have it, you know?
So, yeah, a lot of the people that install in our county also install in Floyd.
Okay.
So that's kind of where they get that certification. It's
That's why they
also,
did it.
that CWATS gives them the ability to charge more.
Oh, okay.
And then they also get to say, well, I do know what I'm doing. I take classes every year. I
Yeah.
took a test, and I
I'm
have the
certified,
ability.
yes.
Yeah, I'm certified. It's kind of the
Okay.
same thing with, I like to use plumbers, for example.
Or
You know,
licensed plumber, yeah. or whatever.
certified plumbers and not certified
Yeah.
plumbers, which one would you choose? And
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
but at least this Mitchell County contractor license, it shows that they have been given consent to install in the county, because that was a big issue that I encountered last year, was just kind of finding out that these people were installing, and I had no idea about it. Now I know. And again, it kind of lays down some boundaries on where to start, which is something that I think my department has struggled with.
Yeah.
You probably don't wanna hear this, but could you make that, start off with making that, optional, the $50, and then ask what that's for, and you can say that I would put your company on my website and the Facebook page, and so people can go to that website to see who is an installer, and
Yep.
and you can put their company name, their phone number, try and sell it, and just ask them to start with if they would be willing to do that.
So that would be great, but it wouldn't alleviate the problem that I currently have now, especially in my office, of keeping track of who's installing, because I can give them the option and they can pay, but what happens if they don't pay, and then like they just never contact me for all of their installs, and then they don't fill out permits, and they don't they just go on their merry way, and it just, a lot of systems get installed and I can't keep track, and then in the future I have people calling me saying, hey, do you have a map of my system? And I can say, nope, person never contacted me, I don't even know who installed your system.
You could have that with the non certified people also. I mean, the idea is that it's required that they
Still need a permit to
still
put
need
it in.
Yeah, they
need
still
a
need-
permit
yeah,
to
they
make
still
this
need a
happen. It
permit.
says that right in code.
Right.
So
Yep.
the monetary thing doesn't make any difference. It's required that they fill out a permit every year.
Right. At least with this, I can keep track. So, whether they're certified or not certified, with this right here, I can keep track and I can put on a list of certified people that are given this ability to install in the county, non-certified people that are given the ability to install in the county. Whoever is not on that list, you don't have the ability to install in the county, and at that point, in my head, that's where he comes in.
And that's true, but the monetary monetary thing is different than what you're saying, so
Right.
it doesn't make any difference. I just need to, and I'd go for that as far as, well, if there's no fee for a certified contractor, if I'll pay you $50 if you wanna advertise me on the site and stuff like that, well, then I'll contribute the $50, but if I don't wanna go that route, well, then I've already paid my money for my certification through CWAT. I'd buy into that, what you just proposed.
But are you really,
I'm just afraid that
is the
the
county really in the
uncertified
advertising
people would
business?
say,
You know, you're not
what's
really-
up with that?
yeah, you know, you're not really in the advertising business here, we're in the
There.
septic
Mhm.
business,
Okay.
so.
You know,
I don't know that that's a good option,
Okay.
in my eyes, but just, that's my opinion.
The
Everybody's
people
got
that
one,
are
you know?
certified, it's a $50, it's done.
No, it's $100 over 2 years, plus the $300 course, plus the $95 through CWAT
But the
to do
non-
it. So it's quite substantially more for the
But the
certified ones.
non-certified people would be per every,
125.
it'd be 125 every time they did a tank.
No,
No.
annually.
They're yearly too.
It would just be,
Yep,
that would be
so
yearly
this would just be a
too.
yearly, one-time fee.
Okay.
Like every year you would have to pay this one
Well,
time.
Still, Jim, it'd be
But-
a win-win because the certified ones would be less than the 125, be $75 less, and if they do more systems, in the end, I mean,
Not when you add up all the other stuff. Anyway, I've said where I'm at with it, so.
And I'm willing to, I mean, this is just like a proposed pricing. Like I mean, like I told you, I would be willing to compromise on this pricing. I specifically want to incentivize for certified companies.
Yep.
I get the $0 thing because they do have already that cost. But then I would also encounter, well, I could go take my test right now. Then go do it kind of thing. It
Yeah.
would kind of be like, I would get a lot of rebuttal from my contractors, which
guess-
is not something that I don't want that conflict 100% there with them. So like I would say, I mean, I still think that they have to pay regardless. I mean,
Say you split the difference, make it 25 for certified, that'd give the other people a $100 incentive per year to get certified too, you know? I mean,
right,
I don't know if you want to go that route, I'm just suggesting.
yes.
Because somebody still gotta do the paperwork, and paperwork's not always free, so.
Yeah, now it's in the file.
now,
$25 in the file.
Yep,
this
that's my
is,
answer.
But
this
compared
is,
to what we have now, me keeping that record every single year, that's a lot more than I've got right now.
now, I have a question. This
Yes.
is through, this would be through the Board of Health, right?
I have asked them for recommendation.
Let's let the autonomous board make a decision. Well,
Be $500.
I'm just gonna move on here. I'm gonna, make a motion that for the certified, they don't get paid, they don't have to pay anything, stay with the non-certified for $125 and see how it plays out.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this?
Roll call, Mark,
No,
Mike,
No.
Steve,
No.
Jim,
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Okay, motion has failed for lack of a,
Let your board decide.
Okay. I would still have to come back here since you guys are the ones that
We would have to-
implement pricing in the county.
we have to
Okay.
approve it in the
So,
end.
like, they give it's kind of like how my zoning commission works when it comes to pricing. It would still be, I would still have to come back here, cause you guys are the ones that 100% do pricing in the county.
Okay.
So I don't know if that,
can we put it on the agenda for next week?
Well, or do you wanna wait till it goes through a Board of
You
Health
gotta
and come
have a
back?
Board of Health meeting. When is that?
That is,
next Wednesday?
yeah, next Wednesday, 23rd, I believe,
So it'll
correct?
Be the meeting
23rd.
after that, probably, Mark.
Should we
So-
table it till then, the meeting after, the 23rd?
We'll see what they come up with.
It's not tabled, we'll just have to put it on the agenda.
Put it on the agenda for, yeah,
Just
Board
an
of Health,
FYI, on
23rd.
the March 1st, you have both our max levy budget and the assessors.
Well, again, they may go through the same thing we just did, so
Okay.
we'll see how it works out. And we can always do it the week after that. I mean, this isn't something that we have to right now.
Septic
do.
tanks really, probably ain't much septic tanks going in
I
right now,
have a
is there?
septic system contractor meeting on the 9th of March.
Oh, you do, okay, well, we'll have it before that.
We'll
Okay.
get it, we'll
Get
try
it
and get it
before
done,
that.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, item number 8, approve resolution to merge into Nycog Housing Trust Fund.
So you guys have already approved to go to them, but they need this resolution signed by all the counties.
Okay. Do I need to read the resolution?
No.
No? Okay.
Okay.
Unless
Well,
you
we
want-
have already approved this
Unless
replaces.
you wanna read out, you can read it if you want. Go for it.
I don't.
If you don't want to, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Steve's made a motion to approve it.
Second.
Jim has seconded it. Any discussion on this?
Roll call, Todd,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye?
Mike,
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to item 9. Items of note. Meetings attended.
We had the HVAC bid meeting last week, and the bids came in, and we're analyzing the bids.
Okay. And that's your meeting then, Jim?
Yep, that's my meeting.
Okay.
I'm done.
I had an Upper Wapsie meeting on February 8th. We reviewed the bylaws, we approved them. We had a project construction update on the Jensen Shive Hattery, Daniel Jensen Shive Hattery projects, and we had the IWA project coordinator update. And that was it. I'm gonna go through this quick because there's too many meetings. I had a landfill meeting on February 8th that night. We discussed the financials, discussion on changing from PTO to vacation and sick leave. We had a discussion on the Ziegler Cat service agreement, on the compactor, and we had a director report. Sorry. Then on February 17th, we had 2 meetings back to back. One was the Mitchell County Emergency Management meeting. I guess this is my 8 o'clock meeting. Excuse me. Well, I'll do the 8 o'clock meeting first. We had a quorum, discussed the budget, discussed possible new truck. We had approved the budget. We had voted in Greg Beaver as the chair, voted in I'm the vice chair, and Chris Olson is the coordinator. And half his wages will be $33,000 a year. That's for the emergency management. Old business, we discussed the pandemic, Nycog hazardous mitigation plan. New business, we discussed sending out PDF to all members looking into an exercise with the Iowa pipeline. So that would be Chris and the emergency management. Looking to have an exercise with the Stacyville Fire Department, and we discussed about disaster assessments and drones. Now, the meeting I had just before that was the 9/11 meeting. Come to order, quorum, discussed the 22-23 budget. Had a vote, it was approved. Chairman, Kurt Agel. The vice chair, Pat Hipsch. And again, Chris Olson, he's the coordinator. And then his other half will be $33,000 a year for that. Old business, discussed the fiber optics going to the sheriff's office. And updated emergency management trailer, has a new radio, generator. New business, talked about upgrading dispatch radios with company out of Algona. System is still working good. Anyways, there's my meetings.
Well, I was at the HVAC meeting with Jim for the sheriffs on the 9th, I believe, and I had a conservation board meeting on the 8th, and well, they talked about the ARPA project quotes that they still have in and trying to prioritize which they would want to do. And Trano Dam going out is going well, and talked about the pits and cabin, about putting solar in, but it cost of $40,000. That was shot down. So bridge at Sunny Bray, which was a no-go either. So that was my 2 meetings.
I just had the HVAC meeting. That was it.
And I had none.
Okay. Manure, moving on. Manure management, plan updates.
First class, 2952 480th Street, McIntyre, and Griffith Finisher Farm, 3160 Walnut Avenue, Orchard.
Okay. Going to item C, any public comments today? Yes?
I want to comment again on TIP. Possibly the best tool the state has ever allowed rural Iowa to use for economic growth. When the windmills came in, it was one of the big selling points for having windmills in your area. We'll be able to tip it and use it for economic growth. It's a good tool for you supervisors to take care of roads and bridges. And it's also a good tool to help private industry build housing, which you need for industry, perpetuate all of this. The state's whining because they gotta pay $900 million for school back job. That should tell them that there's been well more than $900 million spent in infrastructure in this county and in this state to support that good idea that they came up with. And now they want to change it. They want to capture our local option tax and take their percentage out of it and send it back to us. We should be up in arms about this. We need to be talking to them about what they're doing with TIP and all these other things, not what they're going to do to us.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I believe it. It's good if there's people misusing TIP, then why isn't the state looking at people that are missing? It's been a good tool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Very good. 'Cause I'm sure that the TIF backfill is gonna affect towns too, correct?
It's gonna be
It's, I know
catastrophic
Statesville, I
for
know
everybody.
there's towns that use it too, that it's gonna affect.
They want to take it away from what it was intended to do.
Okay. Any other public comments from anybody? Okay, I guess we're down to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
I would move, second is Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting adjourned.